interactive webinar. I wanted to take that opportunity to introduce myself because I've been newly appointed as the EMEAR Partner Enablement Architecture Lead for Security. So I will be coordinating training events, workshops, and of course the Partner Interactive webinar together with Thomas. That is our lead for all the technologies and all the architectures. And I wanted to, before we kick up the session and the next-gen firewall update you have today, I just wanted to give you a couple of resources, and you might have seen those because they were rotating while you were waiting for the session to start. So a couple of useful things and news that I want to communicate to you today. So the first one is the security community. I don't know if you know about the Cisco communities, but we have communities for all the architectures. And of course, we have one for security. And it's a very good place to get information about products, to get notified about product updates, new content, new demos, any type of announcement. For instance, this week we just announced the ICE 2.0 demo on vCloud via the community, so you can find more details on it. You can also pose questions and get answers from this is maintained by the security channel team, so you get answers from the channel team that is working with the BU also to help out. And then you can, subscribe to it and receive all the notifications. And if you go under the subspace tab that you see on the top, you can also subscribe to the EMEAR security community. And this is where we will post, all the PIW agenda and recording. We've also posted the November PVT that happened in Amsterdam. So you can find all the PDF, all the presentations, and the recording that is available here. And particularly for us in EMEAR, you will find some content in local languages. So you can see from the left side of the page, you will have different types of content from, of course, English, well, naturally, but French, German, Italian, Netherlands. I see even Sweden for our two speakers today that are from Sweden. So we also have, different type of content. Marketing is also continuing to update and add more content in. So I would recommend you to register to that one and do the follow that you see with the arrow so that you receive an email every time a new content is posted. You might not want to follow the main community, but at least follow the EMEAR one, because the main community is quite chatty, so you'll get many emails. But I would recommend at least to follow the EMEAR one to get updates on the local content, on the latest PIW webinars, etc. Okay, and another main and important topic for today is the end of the AnyConnect migration program. So with AnyConnect for All, we introduced new licenses, Plus and Apex, and we have removed all the other older licenses. That was, we had many licenses before, and we've just simplified to those two. So we have a migration program for your customers, but that will be terminating at the end of this month, where they can get, if they are on Essentials, they can get the Plus licenses at half cost. And if they are on Premium, they get the Apex licenses for free for 3 years. So it's definitely a good time to talk to your customer. Moving to AnyConnect 4 will be required to get all the new OSs support, because we stopped supporting new OSs on AnyConnect 3.0, I think in July or August this year. It will also be required to use all the new features, like the VPN on demand, like the AMP for endpoint module that we now have in AnyConnect, or the newer network visibility module that we announced recently, I think in the webinar in October, that was introduced in AnyConnect 4.2, and that is now downloadable from CCO. So also the AnyConnect 3X maintenance will stop next year, so in March 2016. So I think it's really a time to have those discussion with your customer. And remember that the new licenses, the Plus and Apex, if you sell the migration program to your customer, they can be installed on older platforms, newer platforms, and even if they continue to use AnyConnect 3.0 until they migrate. So it's up to you to now go to your customer, discuss with about this and make sure that they migrate and they benefit from this program before it ends. And if you need more information, if you need to help some help on the BOM, if you have questions about those new licenses or anything that is related to the security product, you can also reach our partner helpline team. So it's our pre-sales technical assistants. So those are virtual engineers located everywhere worldwide, so in different regions. So you can get someone to assist you from your region or from anywhere else. So the thing is, it's good because you can get a quicker answer. If you open it late at night, you can have someone from the US helping you out, for instance. So it's a big team. It's more than 300 engineers, about 1/4 are CCIEs, and it's covering all the technologies. But of course, you can open cases for security-specific products. And in terms of coverage, they can help you with product information, with assistance with your BOM, asking for a quotation tool for migration, for instance. And they can also help you with getting security evaluation licenses or software. So that could be, NFR for your lab or licenses, evaluation licenses for POV. And if you are a P+ partner, we also have premium services for P+ partner, where you can get more information, competitive information. They can help you out on a customer call. They can also run, they have a set of D-Cloud demos that they can run also with your customers. So for security, there's one on Next-Gen Firewall, there's one on ICE, there's Cloud Web Security, ESA, WSA. I mean, you can ask all those demos to them. And in terms of languages spoken in EMEA in the security team, they support, of course, English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, German, and Russian. Portuguese is actually covered from Brazil, from the South America, but it's a supported language, so you can have someone helping out also on Portuguese. So that's what I wanted to tell you. I will send those links on the chat. And I will now pass the ball to our two speakers. So we are lucky. We have again our duo from Sweden, Annika and Håkan, with lots of cats in their presentation, as you might know if you followed some of their presentations. So Annika, Håkan, the floor is now yours. Are you speaking?
Unity. Oh, can you hear us?
You were on mute, Annika, so...
Yes, you were still on mute.
We're back, so hi everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you, Muriel, for that introduction. Thank you for pointing out that we are supporting even the Swedish language and the partner communities. Good for you, Swedish partners, if you're on the call. Now, my name is Annika Grustad. Probably most of you know me. I work as the Next Generation Firewall Business Development Manager in EMEA, as you can tell from my very odd title here. It's just a funny mixture of letters. And I have next to me, I have Håkan, who's our technical expert.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone.
And we will spend some time with you today talking about our favorite topic, well, being Next Generation Firewall. So we have an agenda here for you. Let me see if I can get the... So I hope you can see the slides. If not, ping us and we'll make sure it's fine, but it should be working okay. So we have an agenda here for you today. We will start at quite a bit of a top level. So most of you already work with us in security, and we really just want to reiterate security is absolutely the top concern, the top priority for Cisco. And we should show you some of the notes and some of the news that's been coming up over the past years. Then we will have a look at some of the megatrends that we see. And it sounds like a very fancy word, but when you talk to a lot of customers, you talk to world leaders, and everyone you talk to around the world, there's a few trends that are everywhere that affects you, whether you're yourself as a private person or if you work with security. And what we'll do is that we'll relate those to some of the news that we see in our Next Generation Firewall offer. Because as some of you know, we released a brand new version of the code or the software here in November, so the 6.0. And there are some really, really exciting news for you that you can use in your selling motions and when speaking to customers. And the last topic we'll spend some time on is to go through some of the new tools that are available for you and some useful talking points that you can have with your customers to make sure to position the Cisco next generation firewall. So most of you who's been along know that there's been a lot of things happening over the past sort of 2.5 years with security in Cisco, and I think some of you saw the presentations we did in the past, where John Chambers, our previous CEO, went out to the entire market and he was asked for his top 3 priorities, and he said, well, I'll answer that question, and my top 3 priorities for Cisco the coming years is security, security, and security, which we like to hear. And following that statement, which was quite bold, a lot has happened, and it probably started when we acquired SourceFire in 2013, and following that we made quite a few other exciting acquisitions such as ThreatGrid, OpenDNS, and most recently we're looking into the LogCope acquisition. And the reason why I'm saying this is that many of you know that Cisco we always buy a lot of companies, we always integrate a lot of new technologies, but sometimes we get the question, and then what? So some of the news that's coming up now for next generation firewall is really proof of us taking all these acquisitions and integrating it into our firewall option offer. So when you go out and position the Cisco next generation firewall, you will be able to bring the best out of these acquisitions to your customer. So if we're going to make it simple, we try to make it, go with simplicity, try to avoid some of the complexity in these PIWs. So if we're going to summarize some of the trends that we see around the security industry, there's 3 of them. And the first of them is called, well, we call it the internet is going dark. And I can tell you that, yes, there's a cat picture, and yes, it's Håkan's picture, and it shows a blind kitten, very deep. But the point of this is not just to have cat pictures on slides, but the fact is that we're seeing an enormous increase of encrypted traffic on the internet. And anyone who has been surfing the web of the past year, have a look in the browser. Does it say HTTP or does it say HTTPS, for example? And in almost every single website you go into, it is encrypted. And the reason why we talk about this is because it makes it more difficult for us as security vendors all across the industry to provide solutions. You can't just rely on SSL decryption anymore, but you have to do something deeper. And this is a big, big challenge for the entire industry. And there's a few things that we need to be aware of when we're having these discussions with our customers. Because it's very difficult to protect something if you can't see it. And if you encrypt something, you definitely can't see what's going on. The second one is the Internet of Everything. And anyone who's been working with Cisco over the past years probably heard us talking about this like crazy. I mean, we can state the number of connected devices. It's tens of millions out there, and it's just growing like crazy. I mean, we're connecting cities, and we're connecting houses and streets and everything. And in the end, the more things we connect to the internet, the more important the network is, and the more difficult it'll be to protect. So we talk a lot about application security, for example, but it's the more things you connect and the more devices you have out there, the more difficult it is to make sure that you have the same level of security on each and every single device. And the third one is really around pure security. I mean, hacking is truly an industry nowadays. It's not just a few bored teenagers sitting at home hacking a company because they have nothing else to do. This is a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's something that we need to keep track of. And the reason really why I mentioned these 3 trends is this is everything our customers are concerned with. And it's not easy fixes, but it's important to be aware of this when you have a conversation, and you can link that to some of the offers that we do have. And, well, we saw this slide already. Let's jump ahead. So the one thing that's important to mention is that, well, it is a challenge with security, but it's also a very, very big market for all of us. I mean, we have a big opportunity here to go in and help our customers protect themselves. And the more we aim towards Internet of Everything and the digitization of companies and countries and cities, the more important security becomes. Because it really comes down to risk and reward. I mean, the rewards from digitization and Internet of Everything is incredible, but there's also certain risk related to it. And we see these numbers all the time. So at the moment, they estimate that the security market is worth $106 billion. It's absolutely crazy. But so it is, to say the least, a very big opportunity for all of us. But one thing to be aware of is that on the other side, there's quite a lot of money into it as well. And we see these numbers change all the time. We see the cybercrime market ranging from $400 billion to $1 trillion. And when you come up to $1 trillion, it's just so much money you have a hard time imagining how big that is. We made a comparison. Imagine you want to retire and you want to have $1 trillion for your retirement. You want to have a really nice retirement. You have to save $34 million every day for the entire day of your life to get up to that amount. So it's quite a lot of money. And as some of you may know, I'm today sitting here with Håkan in Stockholm in Sweden. Imagine we had $1 trillion in $100 bills. We would stack that into a big, big tower and flip it over. It would reach from where we're sitting in Stockholm, Sweden, all the way down to Hamburg in Germany. So it's a lot of money out there. And I mean, here, what we're seeing here is almost a bit of a price list. So if you're on the wrong side of the security, if you're in the hacker community, and if you hack someone's medical record, for example, you can get at least $50 for that. A DDoS attack as a service is approximately $7 an hour. And you see there's really a price list that's extremely, extremely well defined. And the people designing this is, again, I mean, it's serious business, and we're saying it's a big opportunity for all of us to save our customers or to help them. But the hacking industry is 3 to 5 times bigger than that. So we're fighting quite an interesting interesting enemy here. And this is what we call the industrialization of hacking. It's not just for fun anymore or just for political reasons. This is pure business. So what we're seeing as well is that the attackers, they're highly motivated, they're highly skilled, and the attacks are engineered. And engineered meaning they're learning from others, they're trying out the code, they're testing it before putting it into the production. So the likes of 0 days and so on is the reality. I mean, the probability that you'll have an attack on your company that your existing antivirus will catch is very, very small if they really want to get to you. So the silver bullet doesn't exist anymore. It's not enough with the next-gen firewall or antivirus or sandboxing. You need to have all of it. And as we like to say, it's a bit of a cat and mouse game. Who runs fastest? And it's not just us saying this. The security challenges is spelled out by Gartner all the time. And as we say here, traditionally we've said a lot of organizations have focused a lot on prevention, which means basically you want to build a really, really high wall around your company, hoping the best that no one jumps it. But what Gartner is saying is quite similar to what we got and saying is that the reality of security is different. It's way different today than it used to be. Security breach is something that's reality. So you should move your investment from the traditional, you see, at 90% prevention to 10% detection, to move it more towards detection, because it will happen, and the one who manages the best is the one that can detect a threat. And again, the reason why we're saying this is because, well, some of the tools that we're launching will help you to have this conversation. So probably every single one of you who's been on any security webinar over the past year have seen this one. But I think it is important to push it because, again, we need to protect our customers before, during, and after an attack. Traditionally, everyone in the industry and all our customers put focus on the before. And when someone slipped through, we had no idea. Now it's more and more important to detect when someone breaches your network, not if. And what we're positioning and talking about when it comes to next generation firewall is that the protection we need to offer needs to cover the entire attack continuum. So what you see here is the different solutions, or the different features here that we offer in our ASA with FirePOWER services that really spans across the attack continuum. You have the very classic ASA stateful firewall being able to write firewall rules. That's extremely important for the prevention. You have the next generation firewall features such as application visibility control, being able to control where your employees go to and what applications they use, which is great for before. I mean, you still have to secure your company. but also during. And this is where we get the value from the acquisition of Sourcefire. We get the next generation IPS with superior detection capabilities, but we also get the after. I mean, when someone gets through, we have to be able to understand how that happened. It's like having a surveillance camera on your network. So if you have a breach, you have to be able to go back and see what happened, where did they go through, who was infected, and how did it spread. And this is some of the capabilities that we have in our advanced malware protection. We call it retrospective security. And the things that spans all over here is what we called Firesight, which is now going to be called the FirePOWER management. And that's really the visibility. Because again, what you can't see, you can't protect. So, and this really tied down to the offer. I mean, only us, only Cisco, only us together can offer our companies a threat-focused next-generation firewall. We're not going to go through the firewall in detail today. There's been several trainings of that, and you can go back into the PIW archives and find basic trainings on the ASA with FirePOWER services. But again, just to repeat, the unique capabilities of the ASA with FirePOWER services is that it is a purely next-generation firewall. It provides your customers with application visibility and control, and again, the ability to control and provide security on an application level. But it also provides your companies with superior threat and protection, and really the likes of next generation IPS. You have the advanced malware protection and retrospective security, and you have URL filtering, which everyone needs. And now we have a much simplified management we can offer on the new lower ranges. We can have on-box management, and you can also use the Firesight, the central management for superior visibility. So what we will look at now is not just what ASA with FirePOWER services is, but actually some of the news. Because as in November, we launched something that's called 6.0. We have lots of great news that you can use towards your customers, lots of great features. And I'm handing over to Håkan here.
Okay, thank you. So, first then, FirePOWER 6.0 is released that you can run both on ASA with FirePOWER services and on the FirePOWER appliances. There's really quite a few interesting new features here. I'm not going to have the time to talk about all of them, but I'm going to talk a little bit about SSL decryption, which is now available also in the ASA with FirePOWER services. Also, we have some other really interesting features such as DNS inspection, integration with ThreatGrid, which is one of the companies that Annika showed earlier that Cisco had acquired, and also integration with ICE. We're also going to mention a little bit about management domains or multi-tenancy, and a new availability of the Open App ID. But there are even more stuff in this release, such as ASDM on-box management for all platforms, captive portal authentication, and much more. But I'm going to concentrate on the ones highlighted here. First then, and this is mapping to the mega trend of internet is going dark. As Annika was saying, so much more traffic now is being encrypted with SSL. And we now have then possibility to do SSL decryption in the ASA with FirePOWER services. And obviously, the benefit here is that we get increased visibility into threats because we can now inspect this traffic. And I know that this is a feature that many of you have been asking for, and it's quite common in firewall RFPs that they're asking for this.
So Håkan, if I sell a firewall to my customer, I don't need to have a separate hardware or anything. Everything is done on the ASA.
Everything can be done on the ASA, exactly.
Great.
There are no extra licenses required. However, of course, you should dimension performance appropriately. But remember what Annika said, that there is no silver bullet. And I think it's very important to understand that SSL decryption is not a silver bullet either. Some people I meet, some customers, actually sometimes think that as long as you can do SSL decryption as a tick box on the firewall, you have solved all the problem because you can decrypt SSL traffic. But one thing to consider here is that no vendor, not Cisco nor any other firewall vendor, has actually cracked the SSL encryption algorithm. in order for us to do SSL decryption, and in order for any vendor to do SSL decryption, we are relying on the client cooperating and wanting the traffic to be decrypted by this man in the middle. And this will not always work, regardless of vendor. So for example, if you have something which we do not control in the endpoints, like Internet of Things, surveillance camera, an uncontrolled iPad, or even a controlled PC using an application like Dropbox that does not want to be decrypted, this is not going to work, right? So it is not a silver bullet, and it's important to know that it's good to use, but also that it's not going to completely secure everything. So that brings us to another very interesting new feature in the in the FirePOWER 6.0 release. And in order to talk about this, so everybody understand, I'm first going to explain a little bit about DNS for those of you with a non-technical background. And DNS is becoming more and more important because of these mega trends again, Internet of Everything and Internet is going dark. So what is DNS? DNS stands for Domain Name Service, and that will translate names to IP addresses, because both humans and indeed also malware prefer to connect to names and not IP addresses. So it's easier to surf to Cisco.com rather than to enter the 4-number IP address here that you can see. So how does it work? It works completely transparently in the background. So when you do www.cisco.com on your PC or iPad, whatever, the operating system will actually send a request, a query, to a so-called DNS server about what is the IP of this www.cisco.com. And this query will be forwarded across the internet until it gets to the DNS server that knows it, and then it will send back the reply. Okay? This is a little short introduction to DNS, and now a little bit why it's so important from a security perspective. Because malware typically connects to names. They work a little bit like humans here. They don't connect to IP addresses when they are being controlled by an external botnet controller or command and control system. And the reason for that is that the malware author, the guy who wrote this piece of malware which has now infected this PC, he may not know the IP address of whatever he's going to connect to, because it may be a machine that he has not even hacked yet. Or it may be a machine which is on a broadband connection where the end user has a dynamic IP address. So that is why he will almost always use DNS, to make a DNS request to find his master controller. And what we are now adding in 6.0 is DNS inspection or reputation to the arsenal of the defense in depth in the ASA with FirePOWER services and on the FirePOWER appliance itself. So, is DNS intelligence really important? Remember about the acquisitions that Annika was talking about before? One of the companies we bought this summer was OpenDNS, and it's one of the world's largest DNS servers. They see over 80 billion DNS requests per day. And imagine that Cisco now has this as part of the arsenal in our Cisco threat intelligence, the Talos Cloud, where we also have so much other information about. We see 14 or 17 billion web requests per day. We see 35% of all email destinations and sources. We see hundreds of thousands of files every day, and so on.
So Håkan, if I have a customer and they're asking for SSL decryption, they really believe that that is the solution of all security, how can I have the conversation, if you look at the cloud intelligence here, to change that? Because we see a lot of RFPs coming out, and there's a tick box for SSL decryption. Yes, we can deliver the solution, but is this really the right one for a customer? How can we change that dialogue?
I think the customers must understand that even with SSL decryption in the box, there will be lots of traffic that they cannot decrypt, and even a hacker can also write his malware in such a way that it's encrypted at the application level. So SSL decryption is just one piece in the toolbox, and it's much more important to ensure that the firewall, the next generation firewall, is also carrying the whole arsenal of tools that we can get through this threat intelligence. Because Cisco, we see so many of the DNS requests, for example, so we will be aware about new domains coming up which is spreading malware or doing command and control. And threat intelligence, I always like to say that this is a little bit like a gorilla game. The biggest gorilla will beat the small gorilla in terms of comparing different vendors here. And Cisco sees a lot of traffic here.
So even if I sell a small firewall to a small SMB customer, they still get the full value of everything that we see in Cisco.
Exactly, because we are feeding our devices, our next generation firewalls, with information from this threat intelligence cloud. Another new feature in 6.0 is that we have changed the sandbox and the dynamic analysis that we use with FirePOWER AMP to now use ThreatGrid. And ThreatGrid is a component that Cisco acquired about a year ago. So customers can then use ThreatGrid either the public cloud as a cloud service, or they could even buy a private ThreatGrid appliance if they don't want to use the public cloud service. And this is again new in FirePOWER 6.0. And this is also very interesting. And this is mapping to the mega trend of Internet of Everything. We now have ICE integration with FirePOWER 6.0. And why is this important? Well, if the next generation firewall needs to know about identity, not only to make different policies maybe for different users depending on their, say, Active Directory membership, but also because when you investigate incidents in the after phase, it's very important to understand who has been hacked. Is it just a normal user, or is it maybe the IT admin with the domain controller password? And this is very important with identity. But with the mega trend of Internet of Everything, we must also take care of identities for those devices that are not members of Active Directory. And while most other next generation firewall can just take identity information by reading logs from Active Directory, what we can do now is that we can authenticate anything coming into the network with Cisco Identity Services Engine. And Cisco Identity Services Engine can then share this information with the FirePOWER Management Center, previously known as Firesite. So this opens up a completely new type of visibility for the next generation firewall, being able to see everything connected to the network, even the Internet of Things devices.
So Håkan, if my customer has a Cisco networking infrastructure, this ability is really giving us a unique selling point with other firewall vendors, right?
Exactly, and it's matter of fact, they could even use, in some cases, third-party networking equipment if they have a Cisco ICE that authenticates the end users and willing to share this information about end users and devices to FirePOWER Management Center.
So it's truly the value of a Cisco architecture for real.
Definitely. Oops.
Too quick.
Another thing which I think is very interesting in 6.0 is that we now support management multi-tenancy in FirePOWER Management Center, previously known as Firesite. So this means that for those among you who are partners, which I think is almost everyone, what you could do is that you could, for example, host your own FirePOWER Management Center, and there you could share many different customers in the same management platforms. Each customer would have typically their own ASA with FirePOWER services, but we would support things like very complex topologies, including where the customer's IP addresses overlap. And it would also be possible to have different administrators defined here that are allowed to configure and manage only their customers' devices and see alarms only from their customers' devices. And another thing which relates to one of these megatrends, Internet of Everything, is the Open App ID integration. So now there are so many applications available. I think we have just on Google, there's like 1.5 million apps.
Yeah, there's 1,000 new apps created every day. So every day we wake up in the morning, there's another 1,000 apps to handle.
Yeah. And this is fascinating. So if we're going to have a true next generation firewall, which knows about all the applications, it's obviously going to be very, very difficult to handle. But here we have the power of open source. So OpenAppID, what it does is that it allows anyone to create and share and implement custom application detections. So as an example here, we already have 2,500 detectors contributed by Cisco, but we have 2,000 downloads of the detection pack since last September. So this is really catching up, leveraging the open source community here. And remember that the whole FirePOWER is based on the Snort, which is also open source, IPS detection engine.
And you as partners have a big opportunity here as well, because if you work with some of your customers and they're using custom-made apps, for example, which is very, very common, no matter what sort of industry you're in, you can support them and create signatures on your own based on this OpenAppID, and again, to drive your security services. So it both provides flexibility for the end customer if they want to do it on their own, but there's also a big business opportunity for you guys to actually create this for them.
So, just to say it again, that there is no another next generation firewall that offers this level of visibility. Typical IPSs and typical next generation firewalls can do some value in the before phase by stopping some threats and allowing you to create policies on what applications and what custom URL, what URL categories should be allowed. But Cisco ASA with FirePOWER services go so far beyond that, with our ability to detect connections to command and control servers, with our ability to handle malware with AMP even retrospectively, and with our ability to integrate with the network and to take identity from all types of devices connecting to the network. And don't forget what we talked about, the Gorilla Game. It's supported by the largest security intelligence research group in the world, seeing a lot of world's email traffic, seeing 1.1 million incoming samples every day, performing lots of web filtering every day. And this is really important. And we are now adding to that the power of the DNS intelligence thanks to the OpenDNS acquisition. And this is really another aspect of why our next generation firewall offers more security and threat detection than the other vendors.
And this becomes more and more important when we look at encrypted traffic, because in the end, you can't focus on every single packet, but we have to be able to get the full view of the cloud intelligence. So again, no matter which security product you sell from Cisco, you get the power of this group. So, I mean, you get it in our next generation firewalls, but you also get it for email security, for IPS, and so on. It's a really, really big value, and sometimes we do forget to tell you about this because but it's extremely, extremely powerful. So we really want to highlight it for you. So thank you, Håkan. That was really, really good to understand some of the news, because there's just so much we can talk about when it comes to next generation firewalling and the different capabilities. But some of the things that we went through now are absolute, they're brand new, and it's something that you can go out and have a discussion with your customer. And almost every single of those are unique to Cisco. When you talk about the cloud intelligence, for example, the OpenDNS acquisition and so on, that's values that you can only bring to the table if you work with Cisco. But we can say as much as we want about how fabulous our products are, but sometimes it's quite important to have the ammunition and have some support of these third-party testing houses. So I wanted to take some time to show you, because we have showed the NSLS labs in the past, and I know many of you have used them. This one is from the next generation firewall value map, where we are the absolute providing the highest levels of protection. This one we've been showing for quite some time. There haven't been an update, but I wanted to take the opportunity here to show you some of the news. So as you might know, there was the breach effectiveness value map that was posted in August, if I'm not wrong. And yet again, Cisco is at the absolute top of providing the absolute best security. And this really translates to the Cisco Advanced Malware Protection. So if you sell Cisco AMP, this is the value map you really want to use. And this, again, this applies to anything that AMP can be connected to. This is the next generation firewall. You have it in ASA with FirePOWER services. But you also have it if you sell email security or web security or Cisco client protection with AMP, so client endpoint security. And again, here we are at the absolute top of security effectiveness. And the last one here is for next generation IPS, and this one is actually quite brand new. It was launched on the 16th of November, so just a few weeks ago, and it shows the Gartner Magic Quadrant for IPS. And yet again, we are at the top right corner. We are the absolute best, as of, according to Gartner, to provide intrusion prevention systems. This again is a part of what you're selling if you sell ASA with FirePOWER services. So you can show this one and you can use it with your customers again, and it's really third-party proof that what you're selling is the best in the market. So we both have the values of an architecture, we have the value of the cloud intelligence, but it's also, if you want to look at the point products, we're at the best there as well. So we spent some time now to go through some of the trends connected to some of the news that we're seeing with the OpenDNS. We see the SSL decryption, we see the ICE integration, and some of the new discussion points you can have with your customer. But I also wanted to take some time to show you some of the tools that we're using or have been posting for you guys to be able to push this to market. Some of you might recognize this, but I'll go through it quite quickly so you have it all. And this is some of the overview of the tools we'll go through. We have a new trial license shipping on every single 5506. So those of you selling the firewalls to the mid-market or to the SMB, it's sometimes a lot of hassle to set up evaluations for them. So to make it simple, we've made a few efforts there. We have a new ASA migration program, and we had made some new improvements to make it easier for you to set up demos and PIW, so proof of values. And then finally, a few summaries on some of the new talking points that you can use. So first of all, as many of you know, if you sell a firewall, a stateful firewall, I mean, that's fine, but many of the customers are looking for a next generation firewall. By selling FirePOWER services, you'll be able to position so much more value to your customers. But not just that, you yourself will double your deal. If you sell an ASA straight out, but if you add the FirePOWER services, you will more than double the deal size. And as FirePOWER services is a subscription license that you pay for 1, 3, or 5 years, you have the ability to go back and have renewable income. So for the smaller firewalls, we wanted to make it easier for you. So now, as of today, or as of a few weeks ago, every single 5506 that's being shipped now has a note in the box offering the customer to download a trial for FirePOWER services. So as you can see here on the bottom left corner, it's just basically a note saying you want to try out FirePOWER services, scan this QR code, they get redirected to a website where they can fill in their information, and they get an email with the instructions on how to download the license. So if you want to have them doing it on their own, this is a good option, but you can also on your own help them to set up this demo or this PIW, no, POV. And also, another big opportunity for all of us is to drive install base. Many of you have been selling ASAs for many, many, many years. And across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, we have more than 500,000 ASAs out there with customers that can be upgraded and upsold to FirePOWER services. And to help you to do this, we've created some tools. First of all of you, if you work as a partner to us, you can go in and leverage the new tool that shows you your install base of ASA. You'll be able to see which customers you've been selling to and the number of units shipped. This is all on the only thing you need is a CCO ID, and you can go in and access your ASA customer list. And this we've done to simplify it for you. So we all know it's a big opportunity, but sometimes it's difficult to get hold of that data. And it all lives on a browser, but you can also get it on an iPad app if you want. We'll make sure you get all these links after the session. But at least you have the list of customers. And when you do talk to your customers about the ability to upgrade, you also have an improved offer. If you have a customer with an old ASA, you can, depending on your partner specialization, get now what we call the Security Ignite Hunting Plus with migration. So if you sell a new ASA with FirePOWER services and you trade in your old one, you can get up to 58% discount on the new ASA firewall and up to 65% discount on the FirePOWER services. And one of the big things about this one is not just that we provide you with additional discount, but it's much easier to handle than the traditional trade-in program. This discount is provided to you up front. The process is almost exactly the same as if you would apply for a Security Ignite. But what you do is that you add the additional Hunting Plus with migration and you get more discounts. And to get the migration discount, you have to fill in the serial numbers of the boxes that you're trading in. That's the only thing you need to do. So you don't have to go through all the logistics of the CTMP program. That's the one that I've been using in the past. So hopefully this one is created to you to hopefully make it simpler for you to get the discount, to have that migration and transition your customers' old ASA to the new ASA with FirePOWER services. This is active now. You can go into the partner communities and look at the discounts folder, have a check on the Security Ignite, and you have all the details there. The third one we wanted to look at is again around doing simplified demos or proof of values. Because if you want to sell ASA with FirePOWER service, the big value is in the services. You want to be able to demonstrate the value of the next generation IPS or AMP with URL filtering. And now we have two options for you. So as of very, very recently, those of you who are leveraging dCloud, which is our virtual demo instance, you can use it for not just security, but for all the architectures that we're working with. Now you have an option to, as you see here on the picture, you can leverage the Cisco FireSite proof of value. And what that enables you is that if you want to go and set up a proof of value with a customer, you don't have to set up FireSite on site with the customer, but you can go into dCloud, you can book one of these demos, and you get it for 30 days, you get all the licenses there, and the only thing you need to bring to the customer is the ASA to send the traffic to dCloud. And it's all there. You have scripts, and it's much, much simpler than it used to be. So you don't have to ask for licenses, you don't have to set up a virtual image of FireSite, but it's all here in dCloud. And that's live now. Just go in and check it out. There's lots of great guides that can show you how to do it. But also, if you have a customer that doesn't want to send their data to dCloud for some odd reason, but they want to do it on site, at their own premises, you still have the ability to leverage Partner Helpline, just like Muriel was saying, where you can go in and you can request either a 45-day demo license that you use for the customer or a 90-day lab license for your own lab. So now you have two options. You have the virtual instance using dCloud, which is simple and it's very, very quick, or you have the flexibility to set it up on your own. So we have two options for you. So dCloud or Partner Helpline. Do remember that. So really the summary of today was to go through some of the news that we've seen or some of the launches with FirePOWER services and some of the new discussions you can really have with your customer. Because again, some of them are asking for a next-gen firewall and they're just asking for the classic things like application visibility and support and so on. But it's not enough anymore. As we were talking about the industrialization of hacking and the difficulty of detection, and what Gartner said is that you have to transition the investment from prevent to all across the entire continuum. So again, before, during, after. You can have a discussion with your customer about the importance of detection and visibility. And again, if you can't see it, you can't protect it. And here again, we have the great values of the ICE integration. We have the ability to see what's going on in the network, and you have the cloud intelligence. No one else has this. And we have the trend of digitization and the Internet of Everything. I mean, the more things we connect to the network, the more difficult it will be. And again, there's no silver bullet. And by being able to connect your next generation firewall to the broader architecture, we can really be the only ones to provide a full security for our customers. And as Håkan, we were talking about the Internet is going dark and the increasing levels of encryption and HTTPS. Threat intelligence is the key. We do have the ability to provide SSL decryption, so the ability to decrypt the SSL and do some inspection there. However, it's never going to be enough. Hence, the discussion around cloud-based threat intelligence, like Håkan was saying, with the Talos, where we see the levels of how the traffic moves around the network and what sort of host is breached and not, and being able to load that information into the firewall, that's something we now can provide, and we have always been able to provide it, but that discussion is being more important than ever. And the last one is around what we talked about with Open App ID, which is brand new now in FirePOWER services. And again, it's around the application economy, as they say it. I mean, we have 1,000 new apps created every day. And if a customer wants to provide pure application visibility and control, it's absolutely impossible for the industry to keep up. And the only solution to that is leveraging open source. Both the wider open source community, as Håkan said, there's been 20,000 downloads of it since last September. So the open source community is supporting us, but also the ability for a customer on their own to create their own signatures. So this was for today. I hope there was a lot of information. We will be sharing the slides. Is there any Q&A, Håkan? I see you've been typing away.
Yeah,
is there anything you want to bring up?
Q&A. We answered the Q&A, I think, written here in the Q&A window.
Okay. So if you have any further questions, just ping us on the chat. We'll stay for a few minutes. Other than that, thank you all for listening. I hope you had some value from today.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. So as I can see, everything is answered, and I'll still keep the Q&A panel open. And now, if I may, Annika, I'll take the ball back and do my wrap-up part. Muriel, any comments from your end? Or I'm good to go?
All good. It was a very clear session. Thanks to both of you. So yeah, I might make just a couple of comments on the upcoming events. So next week we have the Network as a Sensor, Network as an Enforcer session. So this will be about integration of ICE with LANCO. That is what we call Network as a Sensor, and Network as an Enforcer is also using TrustSec for further enforcement in the network at the network edge. Then the week after, this is a session on services. So it's a new service on top of SmartNet Total Care that you can offer for your customers to give more visibility into threats. So I would advise to look this one up and to follow that one if you're interested on those topics. And then for January, the registration will be coming soon for those, but just you can already take notes that on January 12th, we'll have Håkan again on a rapid threat containment session. So it's using Firesite Management Center together with ICE. And on the 26th, we'll have a session on Zix Gateway with Nicole Weyer, that is one of our experts based in Holland. So back to you, Thomas.
All right. So as you can see, there is also a link for the summary page for remaining December events. So if you are interested in any other events, just please feel free and register. As Muriel mentioned, we are just finalizing the agenda for January. So I expect the final invitation email will go out on Friday or Monday time frame. So just check your emails. Another thing is the survey that will be waiting for you right after the event. So I want to ask you to fill it in, provide us with your feedback, and score this session. And the last thing is recording. So we have recorded everything, and the recording will be available for you in a couple of days. We will follow up on the recordings with you via email, but you can also check it directly. There are two links that I've shared with you in the chat window. So the repositories are Partner Education Connection and Cisco Sales Connect. So this was all from me. So let me say a big thanks for all of you, our attendees and partners, for joining today's event. I hope you like this session and will join one of our future security sessions and the other ones. And let me say a big thanks to Annika, Håkan, and Muriel for a great presentation and Q&A coverage.
Thank you, Thomas.
So thanks very much
to all.
Thank you,
Thomas. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good rest of the day, and bye-bye.